today's Score Fairfield County live webinar. Today's topic is digital marketing haze. And I know that it's something that's on everyone's mind. It's on mine. And so today we're going to be fortunate to listen to Susan Catalano and Robert Clark discuss this subject. I'll introduce them more formally in a minute, but first a little bit on SCORE. I'm not going to go into this in a lot of detail because most of you, as I can see from the participants on the call, you know this already. But listen, here's the bottom line to the whole SCORE value-added proposition. We're at fairfieldcounty.score.org. On that site, you will see opportunities to both go to workshops on small business topics, webinars like this one, and to get one-on-one counseling at our offices in Norwalk or actually in Bridgeport as well. And that I just can't tell you how important this is. I counsel a lot of clients, and our website is a really, really powerful resource and a good place to get some guidance on how to start and run a successful small business. So this is our webinar program. It's a part of that whole opportunity. Our next webinar is going to be in 2 weeks on January 22nd, and the subject will be business structure. It sounds a little bit more boring than digital marketing haze, but it's extremely important. I mean, how do you set your business up legally to make it take advantage of your skills and your opportunities in the market? The speaker will be Joe D'Agostine, and we'll find more and more of the details about this at fairfieldcounty.score.org, and you'll be getting reminders about the event several times. So also, just a special reminder, a lot of you I know are thinking about starting a business or are in the early stages of starting a business. We have a series of workshops called Simple Steps. We're about ready to start another one, actually, tonight. It starts. It's 5 different workshops. It starts tonight at the Norwalk Library, and we'll also be doing one in Spanish on January 26th in Bridgeport. Okay, so we're going to start this webinar. We're going to end at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on the dot. The slides will, it's a very important point because most of my questions come on this topic, the slides will be available at the end of the day on fairfieldcounty.score.org. Now, this is very important also, questions, usually we withhold the questions until the end of the presentation, but please log them in the chat room on the lower left-hand corner, and I'll monitor that and make sure that Susan and Bob have an opportunity to answer those questions. Also, at the conclusion of the webinar, you're going to receive via email an evaluation, and please fill that out. I do personally read all of them, so thank you very much for that. Now, Susan Catalano is managing partner of JQ LaCourte, and Bob is managing principal at Lucid Point. They have been workshop and webinar presenters for SCORE in the past. They understand this extremely, extremely well, and I'm not going to go into any more details about their specifics, but I'm going to turn it over to, I guess, Bob, you're first, and so, team, it's over to you.
Okay, excellent. Actually, I think I may be first. This is Susan Catalano speaking.
You don't sound like Bob, so good.
Yeah, so you kind of, everybody hopefully figured that out. And welcome to Navigating the Digital Marketing Haze. This is Robert and I. These are pictures of Robert and I in case you want to hear who is speaking when. Robert, would you like to say hello?
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here again, and thank you, Susan. Thanks for the introduction.
You're very welcome. And Happy New Year to everyone. And one of our objectives for this webinar is to help you solidify your marketing goals for this year. And I'm very hopeful that you'll be able to, will be provided with a plethora of information to help you do so. So without further ado, let's get started right away. This is what we're planning on covering today. We are going to review some marketing fundamentals for social media. In fact, it's actually marketing fundamentals for any digital platform that you choose to utilize. We will discuss what platforms to use. We'll outline some human behavior that marketers should be aware of, and the content that works on digital platforms, and in particular the platforms that we're going to be covering today are social, email, website, SEO, which is short for search engine optimization, and Google. And that's it. All right, so let's get right into marketing fundamentals. And the very first fundamentals that we like to talk about is segmentation. And again, any marketing program you put in place, digital or even more traditionally, you should be thinking about these fundamentals with everything that you do. First order of business, as I mentioned, is segmentation. There are different segments of individuals or categories of individuals that we need to get in front of, our clients. And our clients, our prospects, our referral sources are not all the same. And we need to be mindful of that when we're sharing content with them and when we're speaking with them a certain way. We need to be able to speak to them and share content to them that is most relevant to them. So you need to be mindful of that. They're not all homogeneous. The orange people need to be heard or spoken to in a certain way or understand terms in a certain way that may be different than the purple or the red individuals. And the same is true what platforms they're on. Not only just the content, but they may also be on different platforms as well that you need to consider. Would you like to add anything to segmentation, Robert?
No, just that as we go through well, I guess I said no, but that means yes. The key here is when you're doing any of this digital marketing, you can turn on a dime with this stuff, and you can. It's very easy to set up different messaging for different segments on different platforms, and it's very easy to quickly change direction as you discover things that are working or not working.
Very good. Okay, thank you. All right, Robert, why don't you review the customer buying cycle?
Okay, thanks, Susan. All right, so this is a standard and a very simple, as you can see, buying cycle model, right? There are a bunch of them out there. You consult your marketing textbooks. You should see this one in there, but you may find other ones as well. For purposes of simplicity, just understand that as people come to a decision to buy from you, whatever it is, product or service, they have to go through all these steps. First, they have to be aware, right? They have to be aware of that you exist and what you offer. Then you have to try and develop some interest, or they have to develop some interest in your product or service. Then from interest, which, you know, it's a graduation, right? From interest, they start to it's desire. And finally, when they have strong enough desire that matches the timing and the things that you're offering, then they get to action. So AIDA, standard customer buying cycle. As you go through this, and we're going to sort of layer on some complexity here, be aware that each of those different segments may be at a different point in the buying cycle, right? So the orange people, maybe you've got a new product, they're in the A, the first A, awareness. But the purples, I'm trying to see the colors. The purples, you may have been working on them, and they may be more in the interest and desire action. And that's where some of the flexibility of online marketing comes in.
Okay, very good. Let's talk about another marketing fundamental, and that is touch points. Touch points is essentially defined as how many interactions you have with your prospects and your clients. In the traditional direct mail arena, it used to be you needed to have 5 touch points before your prospects or clients would start to feel comfortable, would recognize you, would understand the kind of products and services that you offer. Back in 2016, Google did a survey, and it doubled. The touch points doubled as to how many needs to occur. And the main reason for that is because of the digital fatigue, the overload of all the things that are going on from a digital perspective. We as business owners need to have more touch points with our prospects and clients to move them through that buying cycle than we did in the past. And this year, it's 13. It's probably a lot more than that. And the key is it's really important, something to be mindful of, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's intrusive. It just means that we need to have various touch points, sometimes on various platforms that are most effective. Let's talk a little bit. Unfortunately, the joke is seen here, but don't focus on the right side. Let's just focus on the left side of the slide if we can, if that's possible. So this is just an aspect of human behavior that we all should be very mindful of when we're doing any kind of marketing. Essentially, our attention spans, our human attention spans have declined. They've gotten a lot shorter, from 12 seconds to 8.25 seconds, and the joke is a goldfish has higher attention span than we humans do. But I believe the big takeaway on this is we need to capture people's attention right away, or they're not going to continue to spend any more time with us from a digital platform. As I mentioned before, we're all bombarded by lots of things on digital platforms, and we really need to get their attention quickly.
All right, so we have a couple of questions here that I'd like to address on the touch points and the attention span issue. And the question is, are the 13 touch points specific to consumers? I wouldn't hang my hat on the 13. No, it's not specific to consumers. It's really about the cluttered environment that you're trying to break through. So if you're doing Google ads or Facebook ads or Facebook posts or any kind of post, well, particularly Facebook, you've got a lot more to cut through. The thing is that people tend to kind of shut this stuff off a little bit, and so they really need to see your name a number of times. Now, this is not a new concept. We all are familiar with seeing, car ads over and over and over again back in the old days, or even the new days. So it's just that when you're online, there's so much online. It's so easy to just move off a screen and not pay attention, that you need to be consistent and persistent. And another question, how do the touch points correlate to the retargeting pixel? So I don't know if everybody knows what the retargeting pixel is, but when you go to, if it's set up the right way, if your campaigns are set up the right way, they'll place, like if you do a search, a pixel is placed on your browser, or a pixel is placed on your browser, and then when you go to another website, you're going to start to see ads for the thing you searched on. And so we've all experienced this. If you look up look up raincoats, okay, online, and then you go to Facebook, and by gosh, there are raincoat ads over there on the side. And we like to say, what do we like to say, Susan?
I don't remember.
Okay, well, that's okay. We like to say that's not creepy, that's just marketing. And so those touch points, having that retargeting pixel and getting your content or your ad in front of them is definitely part of those, the need for touch points, and they can see it evidenced there. All right, so let's go to
Bob and Susan, Steve here. I'm looking at the questions, and they're excellent questions. But I having talked to a fair amount of these small business people, the question from D about how do you know what the segmentation is, how do you distinguish that? That seems to be a big problem. It's like, what do you mean by segmentation? How do you match up your capabilities with the segments or something like that? It's very difficult.
Yeah. So the point is that you should, as a business owner, you should not and cannot approach the people that you're trying to sell to, right, that you're trying to have become customers, as a homogeneous group. Okay? Do not assume they're homogeneous. You have 4 people in a room, you've probably got 4 different groups, or at least 3. And each of them deserves to be the most effective. Your online marketing, to be most effective, needs to have messaging that's tailored to them to the greatest extent that you can. All right, so and one of the things we talked about earlier, if you put out, say, a print ad in the newspaper, which is still, by the way, a very viable promotional medium for some businesses, you put out a print ad in the newspaper, you've got one static piece of copy, right, that's going to run on Friday or over the weekend, and that's it. You want to make a change, you want to have something a little different, you need another ad. In terms of digital marketing, if you start to see that things are working or not working, you can tweak this very quickly, and that's one of the real powers inherent in this online marketing world. Okay?
Good
All right.
answer. Let's keep going on the slides so we
very good.
keep time. Good. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. All right. So now I'm doing this. Susan says yes. Content messaging for online marketing. So you've got some of those marketing fundamentals, 1, 2, 3, 4 slides of marketing fundamentals, a lot to think about. Don't ignore them. But now we're going to move on to the content. What do you put in there? What do you put in there? Well, this is a build. It's a little funnier in person when it builds. The 3 most important things in online marketing are content, 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 right? The messaging that goes out to those individual segments to help them move through that buying cycle. And one of the key things that you can use to help plan your content is the concept of seasonality. Seasonality is not a new concept at all. It's not something that's specific to online marketing. If you have, we just came through the December holidays, right, and the New Year. And you see there are a lot of ads that are tied to the holidays. Even the car ads with the big bows, okay, that's seasonal. That's a prime example of seasonality. They're tying into the holidays and gift giving to promote their cars. To the extent that you can do that in your business, do so. And the reason why is your target audiences, your segments, are already attuned to some aspect of seasonality. Now, it's easy in consumer. It's easy if you're a landscaper, right? That's very easy to tie into seasonality because your business is literally tied to the seasons. The services you offer are tied to the seasons. If you're in a B2B environment, that gets a little trickier, right? And some folks we've heard say, my business doesn't have any seasonality. Well, we encourage, and that may be true, I'm not going to say anybody's wrong, but we encourage you to look a little harder, look a little further, see if you can find some. In some B2B industries, in business to business, you may have an annual conference. The Consumer Electronics Show is coming up, right? So if you're in anything to do with consumer electronics, that's a seasonality piece that you can tap into. Okay?
I'm going to add something. I also want to add, this is just a great way to reinforce what you're saying, to grab people's attention because of this. It's just a better way, an easier way to do so, as well as just a great planning tool as well for your content, because it can seem very overwhelming to plan all your content and what you have to do. So this is a very helpful way to create your calendar essentially for the entire year.
Map it out, right?
Yes, correct.
What pieces of seasonality are coming up soon, Susan? Say in February.
Valentine's Day, winter snow, etc.
President's Day, that kind of stuff. Yeah, so if you can tag on to that, go ahead. All right, I'm going to go to the next slide. Okay, so here's what we do for our clients. The first thing is identify your topics in advance, right? So use that seasonality. Try to map things out that are important to your customers, your prospects, your referral sources, your segments. Try to map that out in advance. And if you have a blog, do it this way. Or this is a great way to do it. We do this for a bunch of our clients. So you identify the topics in advance. Then you compose an article or a blog post and make each paragraph a standalone thought or something that can be referred back to individually. That way you're going to get a lot of mileage out of an individual blog post. And if you're not exactly tracking this, just keep this in mind, because as you start to dive into this, it'll make more sense. So here is what this particular blog post becomes. We get 3 or 4 posts out of each one. If you're posting on a weekly basis, which these are probably LinkedIn posts, which is what we recommend. You write one piece of content or have one piece of content written, and you get 3 or 4 posts out of it. Keeps you active, which gives you those
touch points.
That's right, touch points. Okay, let's keep on going here. Okay. Susan, you want to sum up the content piece?
Yeah, so the content piece, as I mentioned before, it can be overwhelming. This is where most of our clients get tripped up is really with the content, but here's some key components to remember. You need to be distinguishing yourself. What is distinguishable about you and your firm? The messaging must be crystal clear. It should be sweet and short and to the point, as we mentioned before, because of the short attention spans. The whole experience with you from a digital platform, no matter which digital platforms they work with you, it should be easy, a very easy to use experience with the layout as well as the navigation. Speak to your segment each and every time. People love video. They also just love images. Everything you do digitally must have an image associated with it. In fact, we actually love to look at images of other people. Those images are the ones that always get the most clicks. But video, there's nothing as fabulous as video, and because of the attention span issue that we mentioned earlier, those first 8 seconds of your video must be very attention-grabbing, or they're not going to continue to review the video. And of course, the multi-touch strategy, it's imperative. Okay, let's move on to platforms. I'm going to review, are we going to do review platforms? Yes, we're going to do a nice review of some of the platforms. You're going to do those pieces. But this slide is I think, a very, very helpful slide for you to think about when considering any social media channel, any platform that you think might be right for your organization. These are the kinds of questions you should be thinking about before you jump in and work with it. Are your customers on it? Those are the primary buyers. These are the people that take the money out of their pocket and provide that to you. If your primary buyers are on a platform, then you should be there. How about your influencers? This is the secondary. Influencers are people that influence the decision. They're not the end user of the services. They're not usually the individuals that are paying for the services, but they influence the decision maker to purchase your services. So a great example of that is a home health care agency. Usually the end user, the elderly, don't necessarily make the final decision, or the children of the elderly influence that decision. So if they're on Facebook and the elderly aren't, then you may need to be there because you need to influence the influencers. Are your referral sources on there? That's another key component as well. A lot of times we work with attorneys, and their end users are not on LinkedIn, but they need to be on LinkedIn because their referral sources are on LinkedIn. Other attorneys, other professionals are on there. Also check to see if your competitors are on there. That's actually a great way for you to just see what your competitors are up to, as well as maybe even get some good ideas as to what they're doing as well. Market research is a great way to do also on digital platforms. We all know market research is typically insanely expensive, but you could do this for free by checking out your competitors and what other individuals are doing, even in other markets. Could be very helpful to you as well. And can you advertise? Now you can advertise everywhere. Every platform will be glad to take your money and advertise your products and services on there. It can be very effective. It's definitely it can be less expensive than some traditional routes, but that's something that you need to consider and test and see if it's the right thing for you. One thing I do want to say about any activity you have around social, and Robert's going to talk a little bit more about this towards the end of the presentation, will absolutely help your search engine optimization. Google wants to see your activity, not just what's happening on your website and the words that are on your website, but your activity on social media as well. It's a way in which they validate your website through your social media posting. So activity on social is quite helpful to your website SEO or search engine optimization. Okay, Robert.
Thank you, Susan. All right, so before you go off that slide, so we call this the money slide, right? So run through this to see, like, for example, if you think, should I be actively engaged on Facebook? Run through these questions, right, particularly the first 5 of them. Run through it and see if it works for you. If your customers aren't there, or your influencers aren't there, or your referral sources aren't there, probably not where you should be spending your time and effort. But if they're on, if you're more B2B and they're on LinkedIn, by all means, be over there. All right, and so run through this every chance, or as you make a decision. And by the way, don't make a decision. First of all, two things. One, don't make a decision once and then never go back and revisit it because these platforms change. That's number one. Number two, don't make a decision about a platform just because you don't like it or you don't get it. You might think Twitter is the most ridiculous thing in the world, and you don't want to be associated with it, but unless you're in business or unless your mission is to try and teach Twitter a lesson as opposed to trying to make a nice living for yourself and your family and make a successful business, if your customers are on Twitter, then you need to be on Twitter. Okay, so that's the money slide, but let's see what other people are doing, so give you a little bit of a heads up. Boy, this one's a little blurry, even to us over here. But what platforms do B2C, business-to-consumer marketers use the most? Well, they use, in this order, they use Facebook the most, right? That's where most consumers are. Then Twitter, then LinkedIn, and you can see right down. And these will change a little bit. Video and Instagram will start to come up a little bit sometimes, but this is fairly consistent over the years we've seen. So here's a little, I don't call it a cheat sheet, but here's a place to start. If you have a B2C, you should be looking at Facebook first. B2B, oh, nice and crystal clear, this one. B2B is different, right? Business to business is different. LinkedIn is definitely the one that most other marketers use. Then Twitter, and you can see Facebook is in third place, and the video ones use Tube and Instagram. And then Google+, that's a failed experiment by Google, so that's like Google My Business Now or Google Local. Well, Google+ itself is gone.
Hey, Bob, Steve,
yeah.
Steve, just interesting question from Michael Hicks here. Why do you think LinkedIn is higher than YouTube for consumers? I hate to throw you a curveball here at the bottom of the ninth inning, but what do you think?
Well, it's one, and I think Susan's probably going to talk about this later. LinkedIn is probably of all of these the most trusted platform, just because it's the most professional platform.
Yeah, good
On
point.
YouTube, you could pretty much have anything. And so this is where, remember, keep in mind, this is where other people, other marketers, professional marketers are marketing. And so, it could be that they haven't cracked the YouTube code yet. It could be there's too much clutter in YouTube. It could be their segments aren't, their segments aren't there. And that's going to be different for everybody.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, so sure. Facebook. So we probably, just going to talk about Facebook and Twitter and then LinkedIn. We probably all know what Facebook is. We probably have personal experience with it, so we're not going to spend a lot of time here. But what is it? It's the largest, and Facebook's been in the news, and they've had some challenges lately. They're the largest social sharing site for users in business. It's really kind of the ubiquitous way right now to get to consumers, regardless of what you think about it. You can post pretty much anything, text, links, photos, etc. We recommend 1 to 3 times per week to be posting there. And, again, we all heard about the algorithm doesn't show everything and all of that, and changing attitudes about Facebook. But if you're, again, back to that money slide, if the people you want to reach are on Facebook, then use Facebook. And you just have to keep an eye on it as you go along. Let's talk about next Twitter. And I did mention earlier, a lot of folks, we generally ask this in the live sessions, for a show of hands, who thinks Twitter's ridiculous? We generally get a fair number of responses that people get. They just, why would anybody do it? Well, the reason they do it is because the people they want to reach are there. And you can see this is much constricted. It's much less content that you can put out, 240 characters now. It used to be much shorter messaging. We're getting a little longer messaging in there. I would stay short due to the attention span thing. You can post a lot on Twitter. The demos, who uses it? slightly more urban, slightly more educated, slightly higher income. That's traditional. We've watched Twitter really morph over the years from consultants and thought leaders in the beginning to sports figures to movie stars to now politicians are all over Twitter. And so this just really illustrates the point. If you don't write off Twitter right now. If it doesn't work for you now, make sure you on a regular basis, every 6-9 months you go back and visit it.
Yeah, so I just want to add something. Our SEO partners or search engine experts that we partner with are using Twitter a little bit less so to get help with website search engine optimization because they are seeing it drop a little bit with participation and activity on there. So that's just something to be mindful and to reinforce a point you made earlier. You need to be watching these platforms regularly. Even if it seems at the point that you started with them it was the right platform for you and your business and your segments, they may change. So you'll need to obviously be evaluating that on a regular basis. Okay, great. Let's move on to LinkedIn. We're going to do a little bit more of a deeper dive, just a little bit more of a deeper dive here. And LinkedIn is very much a marketing tool and not just for job seekers. We've seen it evolve into this very powerful marketing as well as a business development platform over the years. And we're going to give you some reasons why. As Robert mentioned before, it is the most trusted professional platform out there. There's less clutter. You'll see in the news feed as well. It has over 575 million members on the platform. It's just growing every second, as you would imagine. I think the key distinguishing features, in addition to the two that I've mentioned already, is definitely its quality audience. They're more affluent, educated, employed. They are, most of them, 4 out of 5 of them are driving business decisions, and they have 2 times the buying power than the average web user. And lastly, one of the most powerful distinguishing features of the platform is its precision targeting. Professionals have been putting in wonderful data about their previous backgrounds, their skills, their titles, their industries, and we can very easily search on those components and target individuals that may be interested in our products and services or good referral sources for our business. As the money slide outlined earlier before, if LinkedIn, how to determine LinkedIn is good for your business, well, are your clients, prospect, or referral sources professionals? If so, it may be a good platform for you to use, and it's just a great way to find your targets and referral sources, be found by them, and stay visible, have many touch points, stay top of mind there. In the interest of time, I'm going to move past the Microsoft acquisition. So here's how to use this platform. It's a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit more complicated than some of the other platforms, so that's why we do a little bit more around the 3-step pieces. But your profile pages, rather your LinkedIn pages, need to be search optimized. So if someone is searching for you, your business, your products, your services, you want to rise high in the LinkedIn search results. And easy ways to do that is to put those searchable words in your profile page, in your company page, and if you're a right-sized firm, even your staff profile pages. This will help optimize your profile, your pages, your presence in a very effective way. Another way to do so in your pages is be very client-centric, right? Speak to exactly the segment you're trying to get in front of. You highlight the benefits and the pain points you relieve, what distinguishes you and your firm from the competition, and if necessary, highlight your staff expertise. Look like you belong. Certainly it needs to be professional presence because this is a very professional audience, and your image, the image you have on your profile pages is incredibly important. The doesn't work.
Well, I was going to say 3 out of 4 of them are actual LinkedIn photographs.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Guess which one that is. Yeah exactly. Okay, which ones that is. All right, let's move on. Step 2 is probably next. Yeah, so step 2, after you get your presence all set and tidy, you should be active on the platform, and building your network in a very strategic, targeted way is very important. You should be sending invitations on a regular basis to broaden your network. You should be not spraying invitations all over the place, but you should be targeting the individuals you want to get in front of: clients, customers, referral sources, influencers, individuals likely to be interested in your services. And then lastly is you need to share relevant content. You need to satisfy the touch points piece, and this is a great way to do that to stay top of mind. All right, I'm going to hand it over to Robert. He's going to talk about email and marketing automation, and then also get into SEO and Google. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. Okay, so we've gone through those platforms pretty quickly. Those are the big three platforms that most folks consider. And so now let's go to email and marketing automation. And so why do we? Well, here's the question and the answer. The number one app on smartphones nowadays is email, right? So more than half of all emails are opened on a mobile device. And as even anecdotally, you see people just staring at their phones constantly. And it depends on who you're trying to reach, emails get through to those mobile devices. And the gross little fact is more people own a cell phone than own a toothbrush. It's a little gross. And I know that I have 3 toothbrushes. And Susan, how many do you have?
I think I have 3 as well.
Yeah, so that's between 6 between the 2 of us. That means there are at least 4 people that don't have toothbrushes that have cell phones, so that's kind of disgusting. But it's ubiquitous, really. And why does it work? Why do marketers continue to go back to email? Because people read it. 91% of people check their email at least once a day. 88% check their email on their smartphones. Those numbers are probably a little higher because I can see these results are a couple years old. And a lot of people, maybe you, check your email more than once a day. Okay, and so you have a great opportunity as a marketer to get through to them.
Hey, Robert
Yeah.
and Susan. Yeah, Steve again here. You just did an excellent job of market segmentation by that toothbrush example. If you're selling, it's just me, what do I know? But if you're selling toothbrushes, you want to find the people who are buying 3, not buying 0. So, beautiful job.
Thank you. I don't think we'd really considered that point, but we're going to take it. Thanks, Steve. So another reason why marketers like email, and if you think about your own inbox, okay, I know you've got stuff in there. I know you've got promotional emails coming in. Even if you segment them out somehow with Google, they are coming to you. Why? Why do marketers like it? Because it works. It's reliable. It gets delivered 90% of the time. Okay, so Facebook posts, as we know, don't always get through. We've got that algorithm thing. Facebook is trying to figure out, what you want to see, and it may or may not include a marketer's message. So email is not that way. Most of it gets through. Now, there was a build here. Everybody know who this guy is? Steve Jobs or Jobs? Jobs. It's Jobs. The room says Jobs. And what he's holding here is the very first iPhone. So this is a photograph from the iPhone launch meeting. And what the point of this is that the iPhone and the user interface with the iPhone and the user experience with the iPhone really changed the way we interact with our smart devices, right? Before that, it was text, and maybe we had some SMS messages where we could draw like little Martian figures with check marks and pluses and things. Who remembers that stuff? That was almost half a dozen years ago, or a little longer. But don't try to use email to market with a regular transactional email. It just doesn't work. You've got to get their attention, like always, when you're marketing to them. And they're expecting pretty. They're expecting your branding. They're expecting an image. They're expecting all the things that they just see on Facebook posts and all sorts of other posts. That's what they expect. As a marketer, you have to give it to them. You're not in business to argue with the people who you're trying to get to buy from you. You're in business to try and satisfy those people. So it's not about you. It's about them. Whatever they want, you have to give them. I think that sums it up. That's the key to success right there. All right, let's keep on going. When you start to do this, so how do you do this? I just said don't try to use email, regular email. You have to use an email service provider like Constant Contact, like MailChimp, like Robly here, like Emma, like there's a million of them, but there are a lot of them out there. Some have free plans that you can start with very simply, and some also have, most of them actually, have a lot of other features that allow you to start to automate your email marketing. Automating any portion of your marketing, your online marketing, your email marketing is a good thing, because if you haven't launched your business yet, you're going to find out you're going to be busy. All right? You hope to be busy. You don't want to have time on your hands to spend half a day doing marketing. You want to be so busy selling and satisfying customers that you're going to wonder how you're going to accomplish this. The great news about all of these online platforms is they're so powerful, and the sophistication and power continues to grow, that they're building in features that allow you to automate it. So this is from Simple Screen. I don't know if you can look closely. You can see, I got the arrow here. This is an actual autoresponder series, right? So what happens is somebody signs up on a website. They sign up for more information, and we send them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 emails in sequence. Okay, and the last one goes 14 days or 2 weeks after sign up. And so what are we trying to do? Somebody came to the website, however they got there. They must have had at least awareness and a little bit of interest. Now we're trying, remember this, we're all the way back to AIDA. Now we're trying to kind of move them through the interest. We're trying to answer their questions, anticipate the questions they would have, move them to interest to try and get them a little closer to desire, a little closer to where they're going to take the next step to start to buy from you. The other thing that this shows over here, which you get with all these email marketing platforms, no matter which one you use, is you get great analytics. Okay, we can see that. Let's look at this one. Down here, 47.54, almost half of the people who received this email clicked on something. Okay, so that's great. And so you can dig into these numbers. You can click on for example, this is a static slide, but if you were live in the platform, you could click on this number. You could actually see who clicked on what in the email. So you can start to design some things that give you a lot of market intelligence about what people are responding to. If you sent an email to the orange people about something specific and they hardly clicked on it, well, then you need to change your message because it's not resonating with the orange people. Perhaps you sent that to the purple people. The purple people responded to it. You're hitting a home run with them. And so this provides you a lot of intelligence on how your marketing is working. All right, let's keep on going. The next step up, we're going to come to websites here in a minute, but a lot of these platforms also allow you to add something called a landing page. Now, a landing page is a single web page that's actually separate from your website. So that's kind of important because sometimes small businesses will build their own website and they're in there and they can make content changes or add pages very easily. Other times they can't, right? You go to a web developer and it starts to cost money to add a page. The ability to your main website, the ability to add a landing page allows you to create something very quickly and simply that matches any offer you have out there. So if you're running a Facebook promotion, a post on Facebook that says come back and get a coupon for a haircut, you can bring them back to this page, this landing page where you can, for example, capture their information and allow them to download the coupon. So that's the power of landing pages. You always want to be capturing information as well. So let's talk. We're going to talk about websites and SEO now. So in case anybody thinks they don't need a website to run their business, you're wrong. You do. So make sure you get one. Make sure it's modern. Make sure it is mobile responsive. Okay, so it has to show up well on a smartphone because everybody's using smartphones. Make sure it works well there. If you've got an old one, if you've been in business for a while and you've got an old one that's not mobile responsive, you need to change it. because Google, the keeper of all things web-related and SEO-related, actually penalizes you if your website is not up to speed, all right, up to the latest standards. They are only going to show, or they're going to prioritize, which really means they're only going to show, those websites that are modern and up-to-date and mobile responsive. So make sure you do that. So what is SEO? Because we've tossed that out. Susan mentioned it, search engine optimization. It's really the manipulation of on-page and off-page data to get your organic rank. We're going to talk about organic rankings, I think, in a minute, or maybe I'm going to talk about it now. We're going to talk about it now. Your organic rankings for a predetermined set of searched keywords. Whew. What does that mean? All right, so who's ever gone to Google and said, geez, I want to find a dentist for Invisalign. And you type in Invisalign dentist, okay, near me. Invisalign dentist near me. There are three key pieces of information. A dentist who does Invisalign, and somebody who's close to you. All right, now Google knows where you are when you type that in, or Bing, or any, Yahoo, any of them. But if a dentist has made sure that their website is optimized for Invisalign, and that they're a dentist, and that they're in, Norwalk, Connecticut, or Fullerton, California, wherever. Well, I guess everybody's from Fairfield County here. Let's say Norwalk, Connecticut. Then those websites that match all three of those criteria that the searcher put in are going to show up at the top of the organic search results. Okay? So that was a conscious effort by a dentist to make sure their website is going to be found for Invisalign, dentist, and Norwalk. And so you need to make those same conscious efforts. And you can't be found for everything. One of the things that drives a small business person nuts, I know, because I've been there, is I can do anything. I can sell to anyone. I have a broad range of products. If they just find me, I can cross-sell them. They're just going to be so happy with all the things I sell. Well, it doesn't work that way. In this world, you're going to need to be focused, right? You need to have a niche or a niche, and you need to have focused messaging that goes out there. So all these things, these keywords and phrases, there are pluses and minuses, positive and negative ones, but you tend to put these into title tags, meta descriptions, other tags, in the body content on your page, right? The regular copy that's on your website, and then how much density, how frequently those keywords come in. You can't be ridiculous. It needs to be somewhat conversational, since that's the way people search. And Google's pretty smart. You're not going to outsmart them by putting in Invisalign, dentist, Invisalign, Norwalk, dentist, Invisalign, Invisalign, Invisalign. They're going to see right through that. The thing with
Bob, Steve again here. Chris Skidmore asked a very good question. You can read it down there in the chat. Yep. But that sounds like if you're a mathematician, maybe you can take a swing at that. But
sure. Let me finish this one last bullet point here, because this is important. What's job number one for your website? Okay, convert visitors into actionable leads. That's the only job it has. It's not to be, unless you're an artist or something and you want it to be a creative outlet for you, but your job is to get you business. That's the website's job. So keep that in mind. All right. So just we're going to go back to this. We have an email question that Steve mentioned about how does somebody like Google, for example, sort content into the regular tab or the promotions tab. And they're going to look for the source. So they're going to look to see where it came from. So if it comes from Constant Contact or any of these email marketing platforms, that's number one. They'll put it into the promotions tab. They'll go through the actual content of the email and they'll look for certain things, buy, sell, any of those sort of keywords. That may stick it in there, as opposed to an email about your family birthday party on Saturday. That's probably going to go to the regular one. That's all a function of what the user has on their computer and how they have it set up. There's no way to trick that with an email marketing platform, and that's Chris's question. So that's just a factor. That's not a factor that precludes using email, because email is still very effective. It's just,
Great answer. Thank you.
Okay, so let's go. Thank you. So let's go to the search results page, right? So when you put that Invisalign Dentist Norwalk in, the search results, that first page that comes up. The first page of Google page 1, that's the only search engine result page that matters. If you're on page 3, forget it. Nobody's looking there. Nobody has the attention span. There are 3 areas on this SERP page to dominate. I'm just going to watch the time, so we're going to speed this up a tad. There's an organic rankings tab, so that's Invisalign Dentist Norwalk. The local listings tab, that's Norwalk Dentist, and paid. So the dentist could also pay Google to put up an ad about their business if somebody searches Invisalign Dentist Norwalk. So you need to keep all 3 of these things in mind. What Google looks for their, to decide what websites do they put up on the search engine results is this: how well does your entire web presence means your website, your blog, all your social activity, all together, if that's all consistent, how well does it answer the searcher's query? So I'll give me a sort of ridiculous example. If this dental practice pays for Invisalign Dentist Norwalk, but on Facebook the practice is posting about cats, okay, that's a disconnect. Google would discount that because it doesn't look serious to them. They don't know. They only know by what you post. Okay? Our recommendation when it comes to doing any SEO work or Google ad work, all right, is to make sure you work with an expert. Make sure you work with somebody who knows what they're doing, because the only thing that we're willing to guarantee right now for a do-it-yourselfer is that your entire budget's going to get consumed. It's going to disappear before you even know it if you try to do it yourself. It's sophisticated enough that you really need to have help. When you conquer all 3 of those portions, organic, local, and paid, on the search engine result page, your click-through rate goes up by more than 65%. Okay, so if you can do that, if you have the budget to do it, and you have the business to do it, you can really get some results. And remember that getting them there is only part of the process. You really have to convert them to leads and then sales. If it doesn't convert, if it doesn't get you sales, having 1 million people come to your website does you no good. Okay. We are just a couple more slides before questions, and I think that's going to be perfect timing. True marketing automation. So kind of kicking it upstairs. If you get into HubSpots and Infusionsofts and SharpSpring and Entreport, if you've never heard those names, those are platforms that have they're really automated marketing. It ties to your CRM, customer relationship management system. It has those types of functions here. They're very sophisticated. It'll track the web visits. It'll track somebody's social activity. It does emails, of course. That's the foundation of all this. And really, these marketing automation platforms or these rules are like the gears here in your sales funnel. Right? You're going to get leads come in through web capture, through social capture. We try to track them. The system does a lot of work, and it spits. I don't know if spits is the right word, but it generates, or it tells you which ones are the qualified leads. All right, so the systems do the work to qualify the leads. Small retail business, maybe not so important. You get more of a B2B business, different story. These can start to get a little pricey, hundreds to thousands of dollars a month, depending on your sophistication and if you got this stuff going on. So you just keep that in mind that those things are available. There's actually a ladder of technology and sophistication and things you can accomplish that you can move up as your business grows and your business becomes more successful, which it will because you're all working with SCORE. All right, me too?
Great.
Susan says yes. The final slide here before we go to questions or any additional questions, and Steve's put a note up there in the chat box, so by all means put them in. Now you've seen what we do, some of the things that we do, and some of our advice. So just to recap, okay? Use client-centric language. Remember the buying cycles. Remember segmentation. Remember seasonality. Publish your content consistently. You've got to keep it out there. You decide you're going to be on LinkedIn or Facebook. You have to do it regularly. You're trying to satisfy those 10, 13, 16, whatever touch points. Okay? If you can link back to you want to link them back to your website. You want to get them back to your website. That's where more detail is. It's got to be simple out there in the social world. If you want to give them a little more detail or give them the opportunity to read more, that's back at your website or your blog. If you can share stories or cases in a B2B setting, if you can share stories, that's a very powerful way to communicate. I think we've probably all heard that. The fireside chat, the stories around at Grandma's knee, the stories around the campfire. Stories. If you can put your content in a story fashion, that works well. Curate with attribution. That means if you're going to share content from others, make sure that they receive credit for it. Don't plagiarize. Just because something's online doesn't mean it's free. But if you share content from, say, the New York Times or the Norwalk Hour, if you see a post on Facebook, for example, that matches your business, Invisalign saves lives in Norwalk, and you're that dentist and you want to share that article, you can share it right from Facebook, and the attribution will follow along. You don't have to worry about that. Make sure you stay compliant. Email, that's generally email, but make sure, again, don't plagiarize, don't violate any laws, don't say nasty things. Make sure you use the right platform, use an email service provider, and that's it. And I see and then we're going to go to questions next. And Susan, I think this question is for you.
Yes, from Joan. Yeah, Joan, you asked the sending out invitations. What does that mean, or how is that done? So that's a LinkedIn-related question. So in LinkedIn, in order for you to grow your network to prospects and referral sources and people that can help your business, the way that to do so is you need to send them an invitation. In Facebook, you send friend request, and in LinkedIn, you send a connection invitation. And there, all you need to do is go to an individual's profile and click on send invitation. And we do recommend not sending the default invitation. LinkedIn has drafted a default invitation. It's very long and boring. We recommend that you send a personalized invitation, which means you'll need to point out something in common that you may see in their profile. Maybe you went to the same school or worked at the same organization, or more likely have a connection in common as well. So sending out a personalized invitation is a great way to build your network and does increase the likelihood of them accepting the invitation when you send a personalized one.
Thanks, Susan. All right, we have another question about how do I install a pixel. Actually, so that's a great question. You don't actually do that. That's done by whatever platform that you're that's done by the platform. So let's put it that way. Okay.
So Bob, so we've got a question here from Brian. If you could he's got three of them here, and then we sent him an explanation there. He's heard the post would get more hits and likes with more hashtags attached to the post.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's a great question, and so let's for the assembled group, let's just go over what is a hashtag. A hashtag it's the pound sign with a phrase after it. And that's meant to be a way to categorize what the post is about, right? And the purpose of that is people will actually sort or search on the hashtag. So think about a simple example is, think about some positive thing like the football, NFL playoffs, all right? So suppose there's hashtag NFL playoffs. If you searched on that, sports reference, if you searched on that, you're going to get everything that also has NFL playoffs. You might find things from sports teams, fans, players, etc. That might be of interest to you. Okay? Now, to Brian's exact question, he's asking, he said, I have heard that your post would get more hits or likes with more hashtags attached to the post. So technically, yes, right? So if you have 2 things that people can search on versus 4 things that people can search on, technically you would have 2 times the amount of, you have twice as many possible ways for your post to show up in search results. But my advice is to see what it looks like, meaning see what the post looks like. Because if you've got like almost no content or no meat to the post and 6 or 8 hashtags, then it's all hashtags, and it's pretty clear that, not you, Brian, but one is not really trying to effectively communicate. They're really just trying to get their name out in front of somebody. And so as a marketer, I wouldn't do that. We'd recommend put some content in there. You should be focused, segmented, niche, right? So just keep it focused. Keep your marketing message as focused as possible. Now, Brian, if you wanted to have 4 hashtags, but it really only applies for 2 hashtags, put out 2 different posts. All right, so Steve, it's now 1 o'clock. We're going to turn it right back to you.
All right, great. Bob, Susan, we're going to stop it here. Fantastic job. I mean, I learned a lot. I'm sure everybody on the line did, and very succinct and easy to understand. You can see from the slides, if you want to contact either Bob or Susan for more detail, you can. We have our next webinar on the 22nd of January, and it's on business structure, which is, you're probably thinking, well, that's exactly the opposite of this, which is marketing is very exciting. Business structure isn't, but it's very important, and I really encourage you to tune into that webinar. So, Bob and Susan, thank you very much. It was a great presentation. For those of you out there listening, please go to fairfieldcounty.score.org to see our long category of value-added services we can offer to you. And listen, have a nice day and Happy New Year. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.